Thank you for joining us. We're going to knit this easy cable knit pumpkin. For this project, you'll need one skein of Mary Maxim Titan. We use the color forest green. You'll also need a 16-inch circular knitting needle in the size 10.5 or 6.5 millimeter, and something to cable with. Start by casting on 56 stitches. Thank you for following along. You can go at your own pace. You can take a look at the pattern. It's on our blog and just whip one up. Or if you want to work with the tutorial, we're going to kind of slow some things down a little bit for those who are just starting to play with cables. This is a really great pattern to do so. We're going to show you how to increase to prevent cable flare and how to decrease them to make sure our closures are nice and tight. Row 1, knit 4, purl 4, and then we're going to repeat from the asterisk to the end. Make sure that your stitches are not twisted and then join in the round. When I started this tutorial, I did lose some footage, so we're kind of making it up in the beginning. You'll see where we pick up with the pumpkin that we have here. Rounds 2 to 4, you're going to just knit 4, purl 4 from the asterisk to the end. So you don't need to join in this round because you're already joined. And your work should look like this. For round 5, we're going to knit front and back, knit 2, knit front and back, and then purl 4. We're increasing our knit stitches by 2, and what that does is that gives us enough room to do a cable 6. You'll see a lot of patterns where they also increase the purl here, but the way that we want our pumpkin to flare out, it made sense not to increase the purl stitch as well. We're going to start row 6 with a cable 6 forward, and all this means is we're going to rearrange our stitches so they're knit in a different order and that way they cross. So it's a cable front, which means we need to hold our cable needle to the front. Now I use all kinds of things for cable needles. I use whatever is convenient. I'm going to start with a hook. It's one of the many things I use to cable with. And I'm going to show you 2 different ways to cable, so figure out whatever is comfortable for you. I'm just going to slip 3 stitches on to my cable needle, and I'm going to hold it to the front. I'm going to knit the next 3 stitches off my left needle. And then I like to just simply place the stitches that are on my cable needle or my hook back onto my left needle. And then you just knit the next 3 stitches. Notice when you're reading a cable in a pattern, it's got the total number of stitches on it, not just the first group of stitches. So instead of a cable 3 front, it's a cable 6. So let's show you another way to cable. You can see here we've worked a few rounds. Every 12th round we cable. So if you look at this piece, you can see we've cabled here, here, and now this is our next cable. We're going to work to where our cable stitches are. So this time I'm going to use a spare needle I have. I'm working with on a circular, so I'm using one of my ends. I'm just going to slip those on. It can be any kind of needle. Usually a double point is really helpful. This happens to be convenient for me. So we're going to knit 3 off of our left needle, and then we're going to simply knit 3 off of our cable needle. Don't worry if you drop any stitches. I do it all the time. Just pick it back up and keep going. When you're cabling, it may feel a little tight. It's just because we're moving things over and moving our stitches around on the needle. One thing to do if you feel like you're knitting too tightly is you can go up a size in needles, but we really wanted this to be kind of compact to make sure our cables stood out and that none of our polyfill seeped through. Gauge is really important when it comes to cables, so make sure you keep an eye on that. Okay, we're up to our next cable. So what we're going to do is we're going to incorporate a cable decrease. What I really like about cable decreases is it actually hides the decrease. It hides your knit 2 together. We're going to slip 3 stitches onto our cable needle. We're going to knit 3 stitches off of our left needle. And this is where we're going to make some adjustments, okay? We're going to put the cable stitches back on, and then we're going to take 1 stitch off of our right needle. Next, you're going to knit the next 2 stitches off of your left needle together. That's 1 stitch from your left needle and 1 stitch from your cable needle. And then knit the last 2 stitches. Let's show you how to do this another way. Really, it's whatever is comfortable for you. I always like knowing how to do something a few different ways. This time we're going to knit the 2 together while they're still on the cable needle. So start by slipping 3 stitches off of your left needle and hold them to the front. Knit the next 2 stitches. And then place your cable needle, so the first stitch off the cable needle and the next stitch on your left needle are next to each other. So you're going to start with a cable needle and you're going to insert like you're going to do a knit 1, but instead of going through, you're going to insert the next stitch off of your left needle. And then work the stitch off the left needle, then work the stitch off your cable needle. And this is just like doing a knit two together or a cable decrease. And then next row we're going to knit 5 because we just finished the row with our cable decrease, and now we're going to decrease the purl stitches that are in between the cables. So you're going to knit 5, purl 2 together, but you're going to do that twice, and then you're going to repeat from the asterisk to the end. Let's see that as a close-up, and you're going to do that twice. And we're just going to repeat that to the end. This is one of my favorite ways to cast off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my crochet hook. I'm going to grab a crochet hook, generally one that is one size larger than the needles I'm working with. I don't really mind this time because our goal is to make this tighter. So I just grabbed a crochet hook that was the same size. So essentially I'm going to use my crochet hook as a knitting needle. I'm going to knit onto my crochet hook, knit my second stitch onto my crochet hook, and then move the first stitch off of the second stitch and continue. I like this method because I find that I'm not fumbling with my stitches as much. It just takes a little bit of that frustration out of my knitting. We finished off. Now we're going to thread the needle with the tail or remaining piece of yarn and weave through each stitch around the top, pulling the yarn tightly to close the circle. This is a bulky yarn, and bulky yarns sometimes are difficult to thread a needle with. What I recommend is that you work the ply apart and then try to thread it. If you notice, I'm pinching it through my needles and around the head of the needle to try to create, to make sure that the yarn is about the same size. That seems to work best for me, whatever works for you. I've pulled the yarn tightly throughout the circle, but there's still a little bit of a gap. So I'm just going to close the gap with my needles and doing another circle around and then knitting across. This is the bottom, so I'm just concerned that it's going to stand correctly. I like knitting across over top of the bottom anyways. It creates a box for it to stand on. Stuff your pumpkin. I prefer to overstuff my knit pumpkins. It smooths out the edges. what I ended up doing with this particular pumpkin is I went back with more polyfill and I stuffed it again. I just worked some more stuffing in there because it was flat on some sides and I wanted to make sure it was a nicely stuffed pumpkin. So continue closing this end. Make sure that you leave enough room for your cinnamon stick stem. I used 3 in this one. And just like magic, we've got a beautiful cable knit pumpkin. If you haven't given it a try, make sure to stop by our easy crochet pumpkin tutorial. We're also using Mary Maxim Titan yarn. It takes 1 ball of Titan to make each one of these pumpkins. Thank you for knitting with us today. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media profiles, and happy crafting!